How are you, my dear students? Today we are going to start our new topics. Here's the new topics. Basically, it's also the chemical based or the chemistry based topics. Here I also selected the chapter 6. The chapter 6, the headline is the structure of atoms. Here the structure of atoms I also explain some scientist name. Here's the first scientist name is the Greek philosopher Democritus. Here's the first scientist is the Greek Democritus, the 400 BC. And second structure is the Plato and the Aristotle. Third is the John Dalton, and the fourth is the Rutherford and the Bohr. Now, please everyone see the books. Here's the structure of the structure of atoms. Everything that you see around you is made of teeny particles called atoms. Please everyone underline the first structure is the atoms. Atoms are far too small to be seen. Yet, the scientists have developed ideas about the structure of atoms indirectly through various experiments and observations. Different particles have different characteristics because they are built by the different type of atoms which have different number of electrons, protons and the neutrons. Here's I just use the new words. Here's the new words in the atom. There are basically three types of a structure. First structure is the electron, is the negative charge. Second structure is the proton, is also the positive charge, and the neutron is also the neutral structure. Now, our new topics and also our first topics is the lesson 1 to 3. Here's the lesson 1 to 3. I also explain the evolution of the idea of atoms and their structure. Here's the evolution. There are many historical steps, and also I also explain the first category. Here's the first structure. By now, you have known that all materials are formed by teeny particles. Here, these particles can stay in two forms. One is called the atom, which is the smallest particle, and the other is the molecule where more than one atom form a stable structure. About the teeny particles, different scientists and philosophers have expressed different opinions. First, the Greek philosopher, please everyone underline this line. Here's the Greek philosopher Democritus put forward for the first time in the 400 BC the idea that all matters are formed by teeny particles. According to him, these particles are indivisible, which cannot be divided further. He called in atom. And the first structure we also know the atom. The word atom was chosen from the Greek word atomos, which means indivisible. We also know the atomos is the Greek word, and also the other name is the indivisible. Two of his contemporary philosophers, Plato and Aristotle. Here's the Plato and Aristotle expressed different opinions. According to Aristotle, please everyone know learn that this line. Matter is continuous, and as such particle of matter can be divided into smaller and smaller parts with work limit. Based on experimental evidence in 1803, the English scientist John Dalton said that the smallest particle of an element is an atom which cannot be divided any further. Again, I also explain what's that John Dalton expressed. Here's the John Dalton expressed. Here also the English and the British the based on experimental evidence in 1883. The English scientist John Dalton said that the smallest particle of an element is an atom which cannot be divided any further. Dalton's idea got acceptance, and the idea of Aristotle was rejected. In fact, atoms are not indivisible and are not the smallest particle of matter. Atoms can be divided. Now, we also know that atoms can be divided. Atoms consist of smaller particles which are electrons, protons and neutrons. Here I just draw, my dear students, there is the basically it's also the helium atom. I just draw the helium atom. Here's first 1 and 2 structure, and this the middle structure I just draw the nucleus. Here's the nucleus. There are also the two categories. One category is the proton. I just draw this structure is the proton, and the second category is the neutron. Here I just draw this structure is the neutron. In the other structure and the other there are also the two electrons. So we also know in the helium atoms here there are the basically three categories. First category is the proton, second category is the neutron. They are also the state the nucleus. And third is the electron. It's also the outer space from the nucleus. And to remove the limitations of the atomic concepts of Dalton, later others proposed alternate models of atom. Here, out of these models, the most accepted atomic model is the model proposed by Rutherford and Bohr. Now, we also learn about what they did say about the atoms. Here's the atom. They also explain the Rutherford and the Bohr, and another name is the Rutherford model and the Niels Bohr model. Here's Rutherford and his co-workers at one stage carried out an important experiment to find out the correct structure of the atom. From the results of the experiment, Rutherford arrived at the conclusion that the whole of the positive charge and mass is confined to a small area at the center of the atom. Now, we also know first category is the proton, and this structure is the center structure, and the center structure, please everyone underline these lines. Again, I also repeat. Rutherford arrived at the conclusion that the whole of the positive charge and the mass is confined to a small area at the center of the atom. This is now called the nucleus. Another name is the nucleus. And he also explained that most of the space in an atom is empty and the negative charge is carried by the electrons, which have negligible mass and revolves around the central positive charge. Now we also know what's the meaning of the central positive charge. Again, I also repeat these lines. First, who also explained basically the Rutherford. We also draw the Rutherford model. Here, he also explained that most of the space in an atom is empty and the negative charge is carried by the electrons, which have negligible mass and revolves around the central positive charge. They are also revolves the central positive charge. Rutherford model is similar to the model of the solar system, but he did not say anything definitely about the orbit of the electrons. So it's also the negative point of the Rutherford's model. Yes, the Rutherford's model, he can't explain the orbit of the electrons. Again, I also explained that another scientist, Niels Bohr. Here's the Niels Bohr. Niels Bohr in 1913 put forward the idea that the negative charge carrying particles revolve in certain alloyed orbits. Now we also explain that this structure and this category is another name is the orbit, and exists the nucleus as the orbit. He used the quantum theory of Planck's in this model. Again, the Rutherford model is another name is the solar system model. The Niels Bohr model is another name is the quantum theory of Planck's in this model. From the above discussions, we can say that the atoms are not indivisible. Atoms are formed by electrons, protons, and the neutrons. At the center of the atom, there exists the nucleus. In the nucleus, there are protons with positive charges and the neutrons which are without charge. Most of the mass of the atom is concentrated at the nucleus. The space between the electrons and the nucleus is empty. In fact, most of the space in the atom is the void. My dear student, today I also explain about the concept of the evolution of the idea of atoms and their structure. In the next class, we also explain the atomic number and the number of the isotopes. I also give you the next class. Thanks today. Goodbye.